You're shooting this way. Okay, I have been asked a lot of times what extra parts I carry, and since I'm doing this right now, we're gonna just take a look at some of the extra stuff I carry, right? Which means I got to pull a lot of crap out of here. Okay, first we got tools. Okay, we got a spare clutch cable, which I've ended up picking up too. Yesterday I went in to get a new one. They wanted 120 bucks. I went over to Randy's and we'll pick through his pile. I got this one for $5. So that's clutch cable. We got, of course, we got the ignition. We've got a spare belt, just in case I'm in Mexico and I bust a belt, right? We've got, that's a throttle cable, which I think I'm gonna get to be needing. You know, my last one, my original one lasted 190,000 miles. This bike's got like 186, 187,000 and it's starting to get funky. I think I'm gonna have to put that on. Those really last a long time if you don't floor them.
Good thing you got one.
Some extra
spark plug cables.
Spark plug wires, just in case you need them. Okay, then we got various bits and pieces for fixing tent poles in here. We got a bunch of zip ties. You guys can't see that. What else do we have that's any good? This bag has shock cord for tent poles. Okay. For when this is for home repair.
Right.
That stuff's for motorcycle repairs. Is home repair.
That's
okay, and I got a thing in here for lubing up. Yeah, I think I ought to keep that other one. This one's getting wasted. For lubing up cables, and that's about it for this side. Now I've got two.
Oh, okay.
I just got another new one. Okay, you guys want to go look on the other side?
Other side.
Sure. Scotty's mobile repair kit.
All right, I got to undo stuff for you all to look. A couple cans of tuna. I got a new tube, but I only got that from Mexico. Because I don't get flats very often, but down there when you get something, you can't really get these size tubes. You can put a tube in a mag, right? So, this here, breaker bar, huh? Like my breaker bar?
Nice.
Heavy duty.
A friend of mine made this for me. I can change the stator. I just did it, well, last year. And I did it with only the tools on the bike. So I can go into a dealership, buy a stator if the charging system goes out, go out and replace it in the parking lot with only the tools on the bike. So for like a good stator, it cost me 125 bucks or so. Instead of, these things can be 700 or 1,000 when you get a charging system in a shop. I got a thing for my another bracket for the exhaust pipe because those break all the time. Of course, you got to have this, right? Everybody got to have rope wire. And what else we got here? We got, there's another coil. Just because I picked it up for free somewhere. Ended up with that. Why do I got this? This is a piece out of the starter I really don't need to carry. Those don't really break. And we've got a set of these, which these things will warp. They go on the intake manifold, these guys here, and they'll warp. And that's about it for this. Of course, I've got the big crescent wrench for taking off tires and things of that nature. Okay? So these are a lot of things I carry. It's just been trial and error. That's, you know, that...
You're taking your tires off the rim with that? Crescent wrench?
No, but I mean to help loosen the axle.
bolts. Oh, gotcha.
Big,
Gotcha.
That's the oldest thing I own. I bought it off a friend for $10 when I was still in my 20s. This is the oldest thing I own. He needed some money for something, and I just got it. So that's about it. Up in the front here, I've got other stuff. I've got jets. I've got pickup units for in here. I got a bunch of other stuff in here. I don't remember what it is. I'm not going to unpack that. Those things are packed in tight.
Don't touch it.
Carburetor jets and springs. Oh, I've got a starter drive gear. If the starter drive gear goes out, I changed one in a gas station in Texas once. You got to have one special socket with an Allen on it for that. I have that tool only for that job because you can't get the starter out of here without it. You can't use a regular Allen. There's no room. And so if that goes out, you can replace that. And I've got miscellaneous other shit in here too, guys, that I just don't remember what it is. That's about it. That's
oil.
Well, I got the oil from Randy, and I got a deal on it. And this bike doesn't use much oil yet. But when it does, you know, sooner or later it's going to need some. And so there, I got it there. How's that? Does that work for you guys?
There you go, man.
And if you
Awesome.
all, and if you all look me up look up my name, you'll find me on other channels.
Scooter Tramp
You'll find
Scotty.
Scooter Tramp Scotty.
Yeah, if you Google it, you're better to use another search engine, and then you go like to the second one down. It takes you to where all my videos still are, and I'll be working on some other stuff. I got a new one just up.
When you get canceled, that's what
Yeah,
happens.
because I got canceled.
Fuck the machine.
Fuck the man.
There you go.
What do we got here? Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the breakdowns I had was in Virginia. I came out of a Dairy Queen, and it was just in the evening. It was just starting to get where the sun was going down. Bike wouldn't start. And so on these bikes, what you do is you pull the spark plug wires and you check for spark.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have spark, you go to the carburetor, find out why you're not getting gas. There's nothing else to go to because that's all there is on them. So I go to the sparks and I'm not getting any spark. I go to the plugs, I check and there's no spark, man. So I go over here, the system on these for the ignition for the engine that I was just showing y'all, it's completely separate from the rest of the motorcycle. It only works for the engine, and the only thing that lights it up is you got one wire coming into the coil with power, and that lights up the ignition. As soon as you light up the ignition, you can drive the thing, okay? So, as long as you don't have the steering locked, which I have the key and everything. So, the kid inside of I got no power there. So the ignitions aren't that hard to understand. Power comes from the battery, goes up to the ignition. Then when you turn the ignition on, one of the settings on it sends power down to the coil, lights up the ignition system, right? So I check it at the coil. I got no power coming in to the ignition system. It's not lighting it up. So I pull the headlight out and I check it up here at the switch, and there is power. So somewhere in the wiring, that old bike had millions of miles on it. It made this one look good. Somewhere in it, probably in the kill switch or something, the power wasn't getting through to the coil. So the kid inside of the Dairy Queen, he comes out, he asks me what's going on. I tell him. He says, he brings me a piece of wire, a piece of speaker wire, thick speaker wire. I attached it to the battery, tied it to here, wrapped it around, cut it so that I could turn it on and off, and hooked it right up to the coil. I hooked it right to the side of the coil, lit it up, and I drove home. I was camped out in the woods somewhere. Next day, I goes to this little one-man motorcycle shop, right? It was a headache to get in there because you got to lift the gas tank to get to that coil. But so the next day, I goes to this little one-man, the guy works on cars. And I says, hey, man, can I take my fairing and stuff apart here in your parking lot? He goes, yeah, go ahead. I pull the fairing off. He gives me a piece of wire. I run it from the ignition switch straight down to the coil, which eliminated the kill switch because, I think the kill switch is in that line, right? Which I never use anyway. And that's the way it stayed for the rest of the time I owned the bike. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Otherwise, if I would have had some heavy stuff in here, I would have had to be calling a shop and getting a tow truck. You see what I'm saying? So for me, that's a big difference on these things. And it's just the way everybody did stuff when I first started riding these bikes. That's the way everybody did. That's where I learned it. Well, everybody I knew anyway, all the cheap, poor bastards who rode these motorcycles, So that's one breakdown.
There you go. Yep.
Okay, you doing a video on this?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna show on this old bike how you go about changing your electronic ignition if it fails. Which on these, the only thing I've ever had them fail, I've never had them fail completely, but the bike starts running really screwball. And so what you do is you reach in here, okay, and you grab your other ignition, which we're at the swap meets forever for $5. Okay, look on up here, you guys. Okay, you see the ignition?
Yep.
See the plug? You just unplug it, plug this one in, start it up, see if it runs okay.
Before you.
Is that making any sense? Yeah, and then I can actually pull that and stick it in here and run it. And then if it's working, then I bolt it up here. I've got enough of these saved. I just got another one actually. I picked one up from Rain. I got enough of these saved.
How often do those go bad?
First time I had trouble with one was over 300,000 miles. The stock one.
That's a good.
So
that's
that's
a good
how
run.
hard it is. It's easier than changing points.
Good spare
So
part.
you can't.
Two screws and a plug.
There's a real problem though because you can't plug it into a computer to diagnose it because there's no plug and because there's no computer on it. So you can't do that. So what you got to do is pull this out, plug this in, see what happens. There's also one other part, the pickup unit that can go out, but there's two of them in here. That's a little more of a headache to put in, but it's not that bad. And that's about it.
There you go.
Easy peasy.